So potential customers, the apparel market is huge. So I always joke that everyone wears a T-shirt, and I think there was actually a study I read, um, not that long ago that said the average American has 7 T-shirts, graphic T-shirts, in rotation in his closet at any given time. Um, so what a better market to jump into than a market where everyone buys the product. And I think that reflects in the growth rate of the direct to garment business. So I have a list of a bunch of them here, but as you can imagine, schools, colleges, churches, daycares, supermarkets, all bars, restaurants, breweries, pet groomers, auto body shops. The list goes on and on here. But if this list could go on for probably 10 slides. But basically, any small business in and around your community, family reunions, local bands, influencers, podcasters, you name it. Another thing I'd like to note here is I'm amazed at the number of companies that reach out to me because they simply cannot find a local printer that offers DTG. Actually, last week, I actually got it confused. I had two different customers reach out that were landscape businesses. And I thought the first one was the second one. Long story short, it ended up being two different landscape businesses in two different states. And the reason that they were reaching out is because they were tired of paying the high prices with minimums at the local print shop, and they couldn't find anything in their community. So they decided to look into this basically just to create their own shirts and start their own businesses. So it's always amazing to me the amount of businesses that reach out to us for information about direct to garment printers, mainly because they just cannot find a solution in their community. So it just shows the demand for direct to garment printing, throughout the country. I mentioned earlier about finding a niche. So there are so many businesses and organizations looking for shirts, but when you also focus in on this niche, you begin to eliminate competition. So I always like to say, what are your hobbies? And everyone that's on this webinar, you probably have already kind of gone through this process, this thought process. But what a better way to jump into a business than, using what you already love already, be it, the fitness industry, pet industry, you name it. If you're all, as an example from the previous slide, this prospective customer that had reached out that was in the landscape business, he already knows a whole bunch of businesses in his area through, working and landscaping for them that are also in the same boat looking for garments, which is, again, another reason that he had reached out. So if you can find a niche, it just narrows the scope and allows you to laser focus on that market segment. If you take a look at this slide here, actually the middle photo are some linen napkins that I printed for my own wedding way back in 2010. What's incredible about some of this stuff, especially, if we focus just on the wedding industry, as you all probably know, the wedding industry is a bit crazy, and it's extremely profitable because everyone wants it perfect and they want it exactly how they want it, and cost isn't really an issue. So in this example with those linen napkins that I had printed for my own wedding, these prints were 8 cents a piece. And if anybody, in this webinar can remember back to some of the costs for their own weddings, you can imagine the profit margins. And we've had quite a few customers over the years that focus specifically on the wedding industry. The shirts for the bride and the groom for the week beforehand, and flower girls, and you name it. The next slide here is marketing that works. Something that has really been impactful with customers I've worked with over the years is the fact that your direct to garment printer will become part of your marketing team. So what do I mean by this? If you go to your local community, let's say on a Monday morning, you look at the 5 schools in your community. What's amazing is you could, because it's so inexpensive to print a single shirt, you can go ahead and find that all those schools logos on their websites, print off a sample t-shirt, and then when you call and get that meeting to be able to, talk to the person in charge of purchasing and apparel, instead of showing up with an idea, you can actually show up with a shirt and really wow them with the print quality. So really, it's an impactful way to be able to generate t-shirt business, is to be able to bring exactly what you're going to be able to do for them into that meeting. So, you don't have any shirts to print on a given day, check the proverbial yellow pages, or your local web pages for all your businesses in your community, and print samples and show up and really show them what you can do versus tell them what you can do. There are many keys to the success of a direct to garment printing business, but one I always like to focus on is selling. So the printer can only print the jobs that you bring it. So start selling. We already talked about using that direct to garment printer as a marketing tool. Another thing I always suggest, when that direct to garment printer is on the way to your house, tell your friends, tell your family, then turn around and have them tell their friends and families. Chances are everyone within your circle of friends and family either needs t-shirts or they know someone that needs t-shirts. So just get the word out is important. Of course, next, Etsy, Facebook, Instagram, a lot of these social media platforms over the last couple years have been adding a lot of great features with the ability to sell. So I always say definitely use all the free services you can to get the word out there and help grow that business. Another thing I already hit on earlier, but I think is really important, is in your local communities, sponsor a local sports team and get your brand in front of potential customers. Fundraising is always a great way to give back to your community while simultaneously getting the word out and getting your brand out there. Like we talked about with using your direct to garment printer as a marketing piece, because it's so inexpensive to print t-shirts, print t-shirts, print giveaways, you know, depending on the shirts that you're using, this can be as little as $2, $3, or $4 to print an amazing graphic that, shouts out loud, you know, your business, your phone number, custom garments, no minimum orders. So, get those giveaways out there, and speaking on that, I've been going to industry trade shows for the last 15 years. I'll see people wearing t-shirts I gave them 8 years ago. So out of all the marketing pieces that you receive, from the pens and buttons and you name it, the the promotional product that a person is most likely to keep is a t-shirt. So, leverage that as you're getting started in your business.